Go back to you, Professor Mokyr, for a moment. So you won the Nobel Prize for Economics. Oh, look, there he is. There he is. So a very proud moment for Chicago, for Northwestern, for you. Here, we've got our audience here. They're curious. What would you say is the single most important thing, based on your research and what you won the Nobel Prize for, which, by the way, was focused on a theory of sustained economic growth? What's the single most important thing that you think we should be doing as a society to ensure that sustained economic growth is happening? And when you think about the institutions and the sectors that are here, what do they all need to do to work together to make that vision happen? So give us a few minutes of your thoughts on that, and just a reminder to hold the microphone close.
So, I keep changing my mind about this, so I may not agree with myself when I just get started, but here is the thing. If you look at major breakthroughs in the past, and I'm a historian, so I'm not very good at forecasting the future. I'm better at backcasting the past. You're much safer ground there. But here's the thing: in many cases in human history, we have defined problems in a precise way. We have to get this thing cracked, and then we concentrate our research effort and our development effort and our money, and we solve that problem. So something like, say, Project Manhattan, right? So somebody decided at some point, we're going to build this thing, and then they brought all these people together, and they build it, and no matter the cost. Something similar happened with COVID. When we had COVID, we were going to. Sorry.
All right, we're going to get you a necklace next time that the microphone will be strapped around.
I'll be good for now. But no, I'm serious now. When we were hit by COVID, there was a major effort to solve the problem, to come up with a vaccine. We had this group of people, part of them from government, part of them from private industry. We focused them together, and they got it solved. We have a vaccine against COVID that actually worked. Now, this goes back, ladies and gentlemen, hundreds and hundreds of years. There were, in the 18th century, society had certain problems that they recognized and they focused on, and they solved them. How to pump water out of coal mines. This is a major issue if you live in England and you use a lot of coal. So the answer was the steam engine. How to get rid of, how to solve the problem of measuring longitude at sea. If you're at sea and you can only measure latitude and not longitude, you're going to be in some measure of trouble, right? And so they were. A whole British flotilla, founded in 1707. They said, we're going to solve this problem. And damn it, they did. And so it goes on and on and on. We have two major problems that we need to focus on. One I already mentioned, which is the aging of the population. The other, of course, is climate change. Climate change is not something in the future. It is not a threat. It is here. We all know it. The numbers don't lie. The real question is how costly it's going to be. And so in the past, economists have thought the cost would be, bearable, large numbers, but 2-3% of GDP. Everybody thought, no, that's bad, but we'll adjust. New calculations show that these numbers are vastly understated, and that the total social cost of climate change, once you do it right and you calculate the global consequences, are going to be 6-fold higher than was previously suggested. This is a major breakthrough in the economics of climate change, but the number seems unassailable. What that means is we will have to focus on adapting to climate change at a rate that we didn't think was necessary. And that scares the bejesus out of me, because we're not doing it. We're moving in the other direction. This is a major danger to us, because once the effects of climate change are really going to hit us, it may become irreversible. And so what I really hope for is that we will come to some kind of an agreement between government and business and non-profits and universities that we need to harness all our strengths to tackle this existential threat to the human race, because that's what it is threatening to become. And standing there and calling it a hoax, or calling it, something that we can deal with, and, oh, what about jobs? What about this? ladies and gentlemen, this is a real and present danger. And the only solution that we can come up with is coming up with technological means to adapt with it. Because the alternative, which is some kind of global agreement, cooperation, holding hands, singing kumbaya, it ain't gonna work, ladies and gentlemen. We need to come up with technical solutions. Now, there are many technical solutions, some of which are already active. Some of them, we know it would work, but they're fiendishly expensive, like carbon extraction from the atmosphere, geothermal things. The biggest hope, of course, that we all have is that one day we'll be able to crack nuclear fusion. If we crack nuclear fusion, then the energy problems that we have will be solved. Until then, we have to settle for things that are less ambitious, but more effective. Solar, wind, nuclear, and other energies that are non-polluting. Because if we're not going to do that, we are doomed.